Thank you for joining us for the grade 8 and grade 9 course selection information session. We're going to get things started here. We will be recording this information session, so don't feel like you have to take notes or anything like that. We'll certainly be sharing the slides as well, along with other resources after this session. This evening we have Ms. Nicole Bryant, our Director of University Guidance, Ms. Singhal, our Senior School Vice Principal, and my name is Mark Brim, Senior School Principal. And we'll just walk you through a little bit of the agenda and get things started. Essentially, we're going to go over the support that's provided by our university guidance team. Very briefly go over Ontario Secondary School Diploma requirements, as well as some of the signature programming that complements our academic programming. And then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of course selection, along with considerations, process timelines, and next steps. We'll certainly leave time for questions at the end of the session. And throughout the duration of the course selection webinar, feel free to post questions into the Q&A, and I'll be sure to respond either in writing, or if it's a question that might apply more widely, I'll speak to it, or one of us will speak to it at the end of the presentation. So just a quick recap of some of the supports that are provided for our students at St. Mildred's Lightbourne School. We have an excellent university guidance team here on this call tonight. They are happy to meet with every student to provide personalized support throughout the duration of a student's senior school experience, as they begin to think about what they want to do post SMLS. We also have in grade 12 focused programming for all grade 12 students vis-a-vis our grad seminar. That's one-to-one, shoulder-to-shoulder, and sometimes small group sessions that help prepare students to kind of curate their university applications, as well as submit everything through the Ontario University's Application Centre in the fall. We also have parent presentations that take place in the fall, two focus sessions, one for Canadian university application processes and one for international applications as well. Throughout this school year, typically in the fall, but even as recently as this week, we have university fairs. So we have universities come from across Canada as well as internationally. Recently, we had on Tuesday the Richard Ivey School of Business, University of Toronto, McMaster University, and University of King's College in Halifax speak to students during our senior school assembly and chapel time to just provide an overview of some of the specific programs that they offer for students to consider in advance of course selection. Additionally, every Ontario school or to attain an Ontario Secondary School Diploma requires that students attain 40 hours of community service. We're one of the few actually schools where that is curated and supported through our university guidance office. Students are able to kind of leverage some of the experiences that they have through attaining those attaining those volunteer hours to help include as part of their university application packages if it's beneficial to do so. So that's another value add that we have at SMLS. This is just a quick glance at the Ontario Secondary School Diploma requirements. Of note, this year, it's the first year where it's a new Ontario Secondary School Diploma requirement. It hadn't changed for 25 years, so quite overdue for a little bit of an overhaul. It used to be that students needed 18 compulsory credits. That's now down to 17. There used to be broad-based groups that they could select some of the compulsory credits from. Now they're far more specified and more clearly articulated. One of the new requirements is a technological education requirement, and Ms. Singhal will speak to that momentarily when we talk about compulsory courses. Also, there is a policy program memorandum that came out requiring students to attain 2 online learning credits throughout the duration of their secondary school experience. So our university guidance department will meet with students to ascertain whether or not they wish to complete 2 courses online. Students also and families also have the option of opting out of that. So if online learning is not conducive to the learner profile or not beneficial to the student's learning experience, then they can opt out of attaining those online credits. The STEM related course grouping is something that's new as well. when you think STEM, you would think of, a mathematics course or a technology course or a science course. Those credits can also be attained through business courses, such as launching and leading a business, which I know several of our current grade 9 students are taking as an elective. The cooperative education credit that students can attain in grade 11 also can meet that requirement. So some new changes that have come about this year that affect current grade 9 students and students that will be entering grade 9 next year. I think we can probably I guess the elective credits we've listed here, the wide breadth of electives that we do offer for a small school. So there's quite a large bevy of choice there for students to kind of pursue their interests as they advance through to grades 11 and 12. We also just wanted to highlight that our Global Citizenship Program does complement our academic program. In grade 9, students who are returning to SMLS from grade 8, as well as new to SMLS in grade 9, adventure out on a camping trip in Algonquin Park. It's a great opportunity for them to kind of gel as a new grade. And they also attain the Duke of Ed Bronze Award through doing so. Of course, there's follow-up work that has to be done and documentation after the trip to attain the Duke of Ed Bronze, but it's a good way to build community and develop some transferable skills to start off with their high school experience. In grade 10, students, some do a local block and some do an international trip, but really it's about discovering what their interests and passions are. And that's very timely because as they enter into grade 11, as you'll hear once you are starting to think about course selection in grade 11, students begin to specify and begin to really pathway plan and think about their prerequisites for grade 11 and 12 and indeed into post-secondary. They also have an opportunity to lead and mentor our students in the middle school at Camp Timberlane as they are cabin leaders. And finally, they're able to participate in a professional internship in an area of their interest. Not only do they attain a credit in doing so, but they also attain valuable work and life experience. And it's remarkable to see. It's affirming for many students. They're able to realize that indeed, yes, I do like this field and I've enjoyed working in it. And for others, they realize that maybe this is something I don't want to pursue. And it's better to know earlier rather than later. And they're able to kind of shift gears into another area of interest for grade 12. Grade 12, we have obviously, they're the leaders of our school. They demonstrate leadership in various capacities every day. But they're also able to, in advance of going off to university, participate in a grad higher ed experience. So instead of just, well, yay, you've gotten into university, good luck, see you later, we take time to ensure that our students are prepared and are able to make wiser and informed decisions and know what to expect when they're heading off into post-secondary. So just nice to note that we have this signature program to complement our robust academic program. With that said, what I'm going to do is pass things over to Ms. Singhal to go through the kind of nuts and bolts of course selection. Again, if you do have questions that arise during this presentation, feel free to post them in the Q&A and I will write back to you. If it's a question that's specific to your daughter's courses for course selection, I would advise that's probably better to be advised through a consultation through a meeting with our university guidance department. But feel free to ask any questions you have that pertain to a broader course selection or programming during the course of the presentation, and I will type back to you. Pass things over to you, Ms. Singhal.
Thanks, Mr. Brims. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to have you here with us this evening. I'm going to start by us thinking a little bit about the importance of self-reflection when we think about course selection. And we have spoken with all of the grade 8 students, and the grade 9 students have had some sessions as well last week and this week around the importance of self-reflection. And we wanted to really frame this because as parents and caregivers that are supporting our young students in thinking about course selection, we encourage you to have these conversations with your daughters. So thinking about how they engage in that self-reflection and knowing that there is always room for new ideas, new exploration, and new insights. So the areas that we really have encouraged students to think about is what courses have they really enjoyed? What topics do they like learning about and engaging with? One way to kind of ask that question is, what are they curious about? There are so many things they haven't learned yet, and we really want to foster that sense of curiosity and inquiry in them. Equally, we want them to think about what subjects have been challenging for them or what topics have been challenging for them, but reflecting on the reasons for those struggles and how they might overcome those struggles and work through those, again, as an opportunity for learning and for engagement in their own development. And of course, we also are always thinking as they enter into high school, whether they're coming into grade 8 or they're going from grade 9 to grade 10, are there courses that they're choosing aligning with some of their goals and aspirations? Knowing that in grade 8 and grade 9, we're still in those early years. There's lots of room for change, lots of room for inquiry, and thinking about what they really want to explore in high school is a really important part of the process. The last piece I'll really speak to on this is that really focusing on that it's an individual process, that reflection, that dialogue. It's about who they are and not so much about what their friend is choosing or what they've been told by a friend they should or should not take. Because that individuality is really important as they start to think about what is the pathway planning they're doing from grade 8, grade 9, and onwards. So encouraging that self-reflection and having that open dialogue is we really hope that you'll engage with that with your daughter. So as we think about moving from grade 8 to grade 9, there, as Mr. Brim said, there are some compulsory credits. So all of the students will be from grade 8 to grade 9 enrolled in these 5 compulsory credits: English, French, science, geography, and healthy active living. And just to reinforce with your young daughters that they haven't learned all these ideas in science, for instance, or geography, and that exploration in these compulsory credits is an opportunity for more inquiry and curiosity that might spark new interests and new ideas for them. Math is also a compulsory credit. We've just put that separately because that will depend on which course they are taking in grade 8. So if they're currently enrolled in the grade 8 math, they will be rolled into the grade 9 math program. And if they're currently in the Reach Ahead math grade 9 course, they will be enrolled in the grade 10 math program. One of the exciting parts about high school is starting to think about some electives, and one of the electives in grade 9 is the civics and career studies. I say elective in the sense that they can take it in grade 9 or grade 10, and there's some flexibility there, but it is a graduation requirement. So it's a compulsory credit. Civics is a 0.5 credit, careers is another 0.5 credit. And at SMLS, we offer these courses online asynchronously. So that will help with that e-learning credit requirement that the Ministry of Education has put into place. One way that our students can take that is in the school year, in their grade 9 or grade 10 year. We really sort of encourage them to take it in their grade 9 year, where they would take career studies from September to January and civics from January to June. If that is not something that the student would like to take in the school year, there is the option to take it in the summer. It is a 4-week length program where they would take civics in the summer before grade 9 and career studies in the summer before grade 10. And the reason to do that in the summer would be that the students would then have another elective to take during the school year in their grade 9 year. Just noting that if they are taking or make that decision to take it in the summer course, there's an additional fee attached to that. So one of the exciting parts that we spoke with the grade 8 students about yesterday was around this notion around electives. And that was one of the exciting pieces they were referring to that they're looking forward to in high school. And going from grade 8 to grade 9, they have some options for electives. And again, just to note that if a student does not choose to take careers or civics as an elective, they'll need to indicate that when they do their course selection form. And as they do their course selection form, they're really going to be thinking about these electives in a couple different ways. So I'm going to start with the arts, drama, music, and visual arts. These are grade 10 credits because the grade 8 students have taken the integrated arts credit in their grade 8 year. So they have that credit as well already and can move into the grade 10 course. And the important piece here to indicate to all of you is to remember that if a student would like to take drama, music, and or visual arts moving forward in their high school career, they will really need to take this prerequisite course in their grade 9 year. So it's important to think about that, as well as to think about the languages. So all the students will be taking French in grade 9. They also have the option of taking introductory Mandarin or introductory Spanish. There is no requirement for them to have experience in those languages if they wish to take those courses. They're introductory courses. And again, if they would like to take Mandarin or Spanish moving forward in their high school pathways, it is encouraged for them to take that introductory course in grade 9. And then the last course that I want to kind of talk about as an elective is this business course, Launching and Leading a Business or Entrepreneurship. That's an exciting course for students in grade 9 to explore, recognizing that if they take two arts or an art and a an art and a language, they might not have the space to do that business course in grade 9, but they could take that in grade 10. And it's also not a prerequisite for some of the business courses further on in their high school career. So really starting to think about what are their interests, what are their curiosities, what do they want to explore in high school is going to be an important process, and opportunities for them to think about what really gets them curious and excited about learning. When we start to think, Miss Bryant, just to encourage you to jump in here, is there anything I've missed in that piece for grade 8 to grade 9? Okay, she's saying we're good to go. So let's move from grade 9 to grade 10. And this is helpful if you're a grade 8 parent on the call today. Important for you to hear because this will be an important next step for your daughter as she finishes in grade 9. Hard to think about that right now. But there are, again, compulsory credits that students will need to take in their grade 10 year. Those are 4 compulsory credits: English, Science, Canadian History, and Communication Technology. That's that new course part of the latest Ministry of Education requirements. And so all grade 10 students must take this course as part of that requirement. And it's an exciting course. It's about exploring communication technology through media, everything from TV to radio to photography, graphic arts. So it's something that really can help our students think about, is this an area that they want to explore through high school, post-secondary, or even in a career pathway? So it's one of those courses that we might not have had the opportunity to take in our high school career, but our grade 10 students will really have the opportunity to explore and see if that's of interest to them. The other compulsory credit is math. So students, again, depending on what math program they are in grade 10, will determine what they are taking in grade 10 for their grade 10 math course. So if they're currently in grade 9 and enrolled in the grade 9 course, they will be rolled into the grade 10 MPM 2D course. If they're currently in the Reach Ahead grade 10 math course in their grade 9 year, they'll be enrolled in MCR3U, which is the grade 11 math course. So on to electives for our grade 9s going into grade 10. Again, you'll notice here that the electives start to grow as they go through their high school career. So there's more opportunities for electives. There's also more space in the grade 10 year for students to think about different electives to choose. Everything from economics and computer science might be available to them. You'll notice that some of these courses have a 3 attached to the course code because they're a grade 11 course, but they're offered to our grade 10 students. So interdisciplinary studies. This is a social justice equity research-based course that is interdisciplinary with media arts. So something really interesting that for the students to explore. Again, if they would like to take the drama, music, or visual arts, they should have taken that course in their current grade 9 year in order to move ahead into that program in their grade 10 year. Similarly, all of our students are taking French, so they can move on and continue taking French if they wish to, but it's not a requirement for them to do so in grade 10. And the other languages, Mandarin and Spanish, again, they should have taken the level 1 in their grade 9 year in order to move into that language in their grade 10. And healthy active living, again, encouraging our students to think about how do they balance their academics with some of the healthy active living aspects of our life. And so really encouraging students to think about how they do that, whether that's through an academic course or through other opportunities that they explore both in and out of school. As a reminder that if the student has not taken career or civics in their grade 9 year, they will need to take those courses in their grade 10 year or indicate to us in their course selection form that they are taking it in the summer.
Great, thank you very much. I'm just going to pause here just to make one notation to add on to course selection for students who are entering grade 10. If your daughter is considering the US or other international options, so considering Canada, but also outside of the country, we really want to have a conversation about breadth. You'll notice that the grade 9 compulsory courses have quite a bit of breadth. You're covering a lot in social sciences, languages, and phys ed, and arts as a requirement too. Universities in the US often like to see that breadth continued throughout a student's high school career. Particularly, they really like to see a student continuing a second language. So if a student is US bound and is entering their grade 10 year, the expectation is that they would continue French or consider continuing a second language that they began in grade 9. Or, as was the case with 4 of our current grade 10 students, going back and actually taking level 1 Spanish or Mandarin. That is an option for students. So if they don't have a second language going into grade 10, and the ability to continue that, especially into grade 11 at the minimum. So 3 years of a second language is usually something that a US school and some other international schools are looking for as well, in addition to other breadth requirements that are more focused on the grade 11 and 12 years. So the real key takeaway, if a student is interested in the US and they're entering their grade 10 year, is to ensure that they have a second language. Earlier in the presentation, Mr. Brims had mentioned that the Ministry of Education had mandated the requirement for students to graduate with a minimum of 2 e-learning course options. As was noted, that can be something that students opt out of. We provide, as Ms. Singal had noted, the entry point for one of those credits through careers and civics through the school because it is online asynchronous learning. We do offer students the option to have that requirement met and to not opt out through our partnership with the E-Learning Consortium of Canada, or the ELCC. And that is a group of other CASE accredited independent schools who teach courses that we may or may not offer. Oftentimes, students are taking courses that we do not offer as part of our curriculum, or if a student is to encounter a course conflict and wishes to take a course that is offered at the school, but it does not work in their timetable, we can, if it's offered through the e-learning consortium, offer it to them as an asynchronous online offering. The ELCC courses are primarily at the grade 11 and 12 level, and that's when students can start considering those options. So not until they're looking at course selection for grade 11 would that be something that the students would consider, but it is something that is an option for them. I'm the AP coordinator at the school, and I'm going to talk a little bit about exactly what AP is. Most parents and students have interest in understanding AP, especially at the grade 8 and 9 level. So to give you a bit of insight, advanced placement is run through the College Board. It's the same organization that runs the PSAT, the SAT, and other standardized tests. And really, it gives students an understanding of university level material while they are still studying in high school. Not only are they actually getting exposure to the material, but they're also writing a university level examination. The way that it works is that students will need to take the grade 12 level course alongside the AP course that we offer. and that is done in their grade 12 year. And the reason for that is that they really need the experience of their grades 9, 10, and 11 years, as well as the understanding of the grade 12 curriculum to really find good success in those APs. Now, a student would take an AP for one or two reasons. Firstly, they are enriching their high school experience, and they have a real love for that particular subject matter. It better prepares students for that area of study when they're at university and they've already had exposure to that. So they're sitting in their first year classes with a bit more confidence because they've seen some of the material in their AP classes. As well, AP results of a 4 or a 5 out of 5 on an examination can be beneficial for university admissions outside of the country. So in Canada, with the exception of McGill, no universities will be using APs as part of the admissions process. However, the US and the UK will use it for admissions purposes, albeit the US uses it only a little bit in comparison to a student's whole transcript. So the courses that they're taking and the credits that they're achieving and the actual results that they are receiving, those are what are really going to be the most important component to an admissions package. And AP can help enrich and add on to that as well. So students take the AP course at the same time as their grade 12 curriculum. I just want to make sure that it's understood that students are not evaluated in their classes on AP curriculum, but that the AP curriculum is added onto and learned outside of the regular core curriculum. So students' tests, assignments, and final exam will determine a student's final result in a class, and that is the primary basis for admission. But an AP result for an exam, because all AP exams are written in May, which is before a student will actually complete the course, that result can be an additional piece that universities in the US and the UK can evaluate. I'm just going to make a quick note that UK universities do quite like APs. However, they want to see them specifically focused on the area that the student is intending to study. So if a student is looking to study engineering, then taking chemistry and physics and calculus would make sense, but modern world history or English literature would not. The university would not necessarily review those humanities-based courses. I just want to make sure it's known that there is no requirement for students to take AP at SMLS. We offer it as enrichment and to add to their university applications as well. So there is no requirement for students to take it, but we do strongly encourage students to consider it when they're in grade 12 in particular, to help better prepare them for academic study at the university level. Each year, that's something that our young alum, our first years who come back to speak to our students say, what best prepared them were absolutely our teachers, but certainly AP in the course areas that they intended to study at the university level. Just a quick note that for students who wish to write an AP exam for a student in grade 9, 10, or 11, the student can self-study. And in addition, any student who wishes to write an exam for an AP that we do not offer as a course at the grade 12 level can have that exam ordered for them and proctored at the school. I just want to make sure that students understand they really need to do this in consultation with me as the AP coordinator so that I understand the strategic movement of what they're doing and that I understand that pathway, but also can provide some suggestions on when and what exams may be most appropriate if writing in advance of their grade 12 year. So our course selection process has already started. We have provided students with grade-specific meetings that started this week, but we also hosted a senior school information session last Friday. Our information sessions that go a little bit more deeply into some of what we're talking about tonight for our grades 10 11, and our grade 9 students as well will happen tomorrow in the morning. We're presenting to parents this evening, providing you information and an overview of how you can best support your daughter throughout this process as well. In February, so once course selection has been completed, which will be by January 27th for our MS8 students and will be on January 23rd for our SS9 students. Once that information has been pulled together, we will be sending out the course selection choices of your daughter to you via email so you can review these. If there are any questions or concerns that you have, having a conversation with myself, Ms. Singhal, we can make changes to that course selection at that time, should you and or your daughter wish to do so. Additionally, in the spring, we know that once students have been through their courses a little bit longer, maybe had time to digest the courses a little bit more, really thought about what their pathway may look like, they may consider some changes, but really this check-in is just to see how they're feeling about their courses. Course changes can happen at that time in advance of the summer, but we hope that a lot of forward thinking and real deep thought has happened at this point in time. So that really pleased with those courses now. And then finally in August, before the school year is underway, just before things get started, we will be releasing timetables via MySMLS. So students will have that information regarding their course and their schedules in advance of the school year. Our next step, so the course calendar, the SMLS Senior Schools course calendar was mailed out in December, so just before the winter holiday, and we will be sending it out alongside the slides as well, most likely tomorrow. So the course calendar really provides a lot of information. We said to the students, we're not expecting you to read all 80+ pages. However, there's a large majority, particularly in the second half of the course calendar, that's really worthwhile to dive into, and that is course descriptions. So students can have an understanding of what to expect in some of those courses and what are the topics that would be covered. In addition, if they aren't sure about what a course is really all about, speaking with their current course teachers to gather some more information, but also speaking with university guidance. We will be meeting with students before the March break, one-on-one, or we did note to our MS8 students, if they're a little bit nervous about meeting with us one-on-one, we're happy to meet with them in pairs, where we can talk a bit about what electives they have chosen and why they may be choosing those, and to also give them the chance to ask their wonderings, their curiosities, things that they're not sure about. Ask some what they may think are silly questions, but certainly are not. As I said, our SS9 students will be completing those course selection requests next Thursday in their advisor, and our MS8 students will complete that course selection with Ms. Singhal and myself on Monday, January 27th. Just before we go into some of our questions that we may have, we just want to ensure that families understand that it is not just about what you're taking, but how your academics fit into the puzzle that you have of everything you're involved in. We don't want students to just be focused on academics. We want them to be well-rounded, investigating, experiencing the world around them, and getting involved in the school, or even continuing things that they're involved in outside of the school as well. So we want students to consider what are their co-curricular, their extracurricular involvements outside of the school and inside of the school, how they might want to be involved as they enter the senior school, or what else they might want to continue being involved in as they enter into grade 10. They also need to take into consideration their Duke of Ed Bronze Award. It is something that SMLS asks students to have prior to graduation. Grade 9 sets students up to be able to obtain their bronze level Duke of Ed award by the end of their grade 9 year, because we have that adventurous journey at the start of the school year. Then it requires the other 3 pillars of community service, which they could absolutely seek out weekly assistance through Extended Day, which I organize, or other weekly opportunities with the junior school. They also need to be involved in athletics in some capacity, as well as a skill. So we make it so that students can certainly obtain that bronze at the end of the grade 9, which is what we encourage, so that they can move on by the time they're moving into grade 10, or if they're waiting a little bit later into grade 11, set themselves up to obtain that silver Duke of Ed award. Just as a reminder, students who are working towards their Duke of Ed, those community service hours cannot be used for your Duke of Ed. So you cannot use them for both your community service graduation requirement and the Duke of Ed award. Those are actually 2 separate and distinct things. Duke of Ed is 1 hour a week, weekly, over a consistent number of weeks, which is usually 13 weeks. Community service, however, can be obtained in chunks. So we have opportunities such as our partnership with St. Jude's Anglican Church, where students can volunteer for 6, 7, or 8 hours in particular for events. Our summer enrichment guide went out to parents in December and also to students just last week. We will attach that to tonight's presentation as well. It's really important that we are thinking ahead. We don't have to have everything planned, but in between grades 9 and 10, and in between grades 8 and 9, there's some good opportunities for exploration, whether they be curricular or experiential, which is contained in that enrichment guide as well. Finally, just a note about external credits. We know that sometimes students want to have a bit more flexibility in their grade 9 or grade 10 or 11 or 12 year, and they ask if they're able to take courses through an external provider. They are numerous and plenty, and some are much better than others, particularly when we come to experiential education. That is something that can be a really good fit for a student, but we just ask that that be in consultation with the University Guidance Office, so that especially if it is a compulsory course, we understand A, why the student is wanting to make that change, and B, that we're ensuring that they are taking the course with a provider that is reputable and one that we know. With that, we welcome you for joining us this evening. We do have a little bit of time should we have some questions. So Mr. Brims, are there any questions that perhaps came up in our chat that might be answered live?
Very quiet group this evening. No questions yet in the chat. So either we've covered everything or there's just questions that have not yet emerged. Feel free to place questions in the Q&A if you do have any. We can certainly stay on for a few more minutes. If no questions come to mind, we're always available. We will send out our contact information again, along with the resources from this evening, a recording of the webinar, the course calendar. So we're always happy to follow up afterwards, but if there are any burning questions, we can stay on for a few more minutes.
Just while we're waiting for maybe a question or two, the opportunities we get to connect with students starting in grade 8 is really quite valuable to us, especially as this past year, over half of our graduating students applied internationally. So we had students applying to the US, the UK, Ireland, Netherlands, Australia, and New Zealand. And many of those did require letters of recommendation to be coming from the school. And having now been with these students over the past 3 years, since I started here at SMLS in September 2022, I really was able to really dive into who the student is in those letters to provide a really complex understanding of who they are and how they would fit in that institution. So really something that's really important in the University Guidance Office, and why I value being at a smaller school is those touch points and the opportunities we get to really have with those students and really get to know them. And I always say there's no bad questions, students and parents alike.
We do have one question that has come in. The question is, can grade 8 students take grade 9 math in the summer? I guess the short answer to that is yes, they can. We do not currently at SMLS offer grade 9 math in the summer. If you are considering having your daughter take grade 9 math in the summer, I would strongly recommend consulting with our university guidance departments. That would be Miss Singhal or Miss Bryant, just to discuss what service providers would be most appropriate for providing that grade 9 math experience. As Ms. Bryant alluded to, some are far more, some will better prepare students more so than others. So that would be a decision I would definitely be consulting with university guidance about.
And two things I would just note is that I would want to have an understanding of the reason why the student is looking to do reach ahead math. As a note, and thank you for, I think that's a great question to note that students can take both advanced functions and calculus in their grade 12 year, and our math department has made it very approachable for students to be able to take those at the same time. So rather than taking them consecutively, meaning doing the reach ahead math and then taking calculus and vectors in grade 12, being able to take them concurrently. And our students who have done that have had quite good success. The other piece I would say about that, I really think a conversation with the grade 8 students math teacher would certainly be warranted. And, you know, understanding again the reasons why the student is wanting to do reach ahead, and to ensure that the student is best prepared for that, because you're doing it in a compressed, you know, very condensed, usually 4-week period. You want to make sure that the student is prepared for that next level math, so that grade 10 math as a grade 9 student, rather than just trying to reach ahead or speed ahead when that's not a necessity, because students can take both of those maths in their grade 12 year.
Well, we're almost right on time. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Again, we will send out a recording as well as the resources that were discussed tonight. Wish you all the best, and feel free to reach out to us anytime if you have any follow-up questions. Take care. Have a great night.
Good night.